What's going on? Welcome to the New Music Business. I'm your host, Ari Herstand, author of How to Make It in the New Music Business, the book, 3rd edition out now. The audiobook is also out everywhere right now. So if you like hearing the sound of my voice and you think you can stand it for 20 straight hours, pick up that audiobook. Personally, I prefer audiobooks over the hardcover ebooks, personal preference, but the audiobook is out. I really enjoyed reading it, and I think you'll enjoy listening to it. Today's episode is all about sync licensing. Of course, sync licensing is getting your music on TV shows and film and trailers and commercials and video games and all of that. That is what sync means. And we've done so many episodes around sync licensing over the past couple years that we decided to kind of do a best of episode focusing around sync. This is some of our most frequently requested topics is within sync. So we're like, you know what? Let's just put together some of the best of clips from some of our favorite guests. So some of the guests that you're going to hear from today is Jen Malone. She is the music supervisor for Euphoria and so many more shows. She's a music supervisor extraordinaire. In addition to, we have Lindsay Wolfington, also music supervisor extraordinaire. She was the one who actually placed my song on One Tree Hill about a decade ago, and she has worked on countless shows and movies since. We have Madonna Wade-Reed, who also music supervisor extraordinaire, been in the business for over 20 years, has done hundreds and hundreds of episodes of television and movies and all of that. If you're in sync licensing, you know Madonna, you know Lindsay, you know Jen. They're superstars of the sync licensing world. We also have some sync agencies on this best of episode. We have Lyle and Kyra from Bank Robber, Charles and Chase from Blue Buddha, Jenn Miller from Audiosocket, Vo Williams, the artist, instructor of Ari's Tech Academy's sync licensing course, and he runs his own sync agency, Sound Dose Music Group. Vo Williams, for those of you who are unfamiliar, he's a hip-hop artist, and he's had over 1,500 sync placements of just his own music, not to mention pretty much every major sports league from MLB, NBA, NHL, World Cup, all of that. They've used his music in their promos, not to mention the teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning and the NHL. They've used his music every year. The Milwaukee Bucks use his music every year. I was just watching the Dodgers broadcast. Oh no, I was at the Dodgers game actually, and they're using his music. So yeah, he has kind of cornered that market. You're going to hear from him, and you're also going to hear from Disney music supervisor Brian Vickers, who focuses on placing music in Disney trailers. This is a jam-packed episode all about how to pitch your music for sync, but also digging into some topics about how to get started in sync licensing, and how agencies and music supervisors like to be contacted. So if you're interested in sync licensing, this is the episode for you. As always, please follow this show. If this is your first time listening to it, just pause it, click the follow, click the subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you like the show. Those really help. And if you're listening on YouTube, click that thumbs up, click the subscribe, leave us a comment. I love reading the comments. I try to get back to people when I can. And find us, all of us that make the show happen, at Ari's Take on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Find me, Ari Herstand, on Instagram and Twitter. Visit aristake.com. Get on the email list. That's where you're going to get the most up-to-date information about all things new music business, and we'll let you know when new episodes drop and just stuff that you need to know about the new music business. All right, let's kick into the show. Now, break down the difference between supervisor and coordinator. What is a coordinator? What's kind of the day-to-day job duties of a coordinator?
So the coordinator is support for the supervisor.
Okay.
They handle a lot of admin stuff, quotes, music clearance, script breakdowns, everything from like getting wave files to the music editors, helping with, budget clearances, and then, as well, depending on the it all depends on the supervisor and how they structure their house.
And budget clearances, you mean from the
to clear
production.
music.
Okay. And so
to clear a song.
Sure. So when you're going to kind of the label or the publishing company or the manager or the artist,
the copyright holders.
Yeah. And so you have basically how much you have to offer for the song, and then that's
it's the whole thing. I mean, a quote request is, what's the song, who are the songwriters, who's the publishing company, how long is the use, what type of use, the scene description, and then, the fees that you end up negotiating.
Sure.
So, just making sure, doing the research, who are all the writers, who are all the publishers, and just, clear music, because you can't use a song if you can't clear it.
Right. So actually, I want to talk about that. I want to pause on your biography for a second, because this is really interesting. That's something that I've seen evolve over the years. I'm sure you've seen it evolve over the years. From probably initially people emailing you MP3s, attachments to like Dropbox to Box to now disco and
Love disco.
Love disco. Okay.
Love disco.
Okay, yeah.
Love disco.
That's what I've been hearing a lot of, because of the metadata is just so clear in there, and you can the contact information, or not always.
You would hope.
Okay.
You would hope. Not
like
all. At least
okay.
I can add my own metadata, but some of it at least is just for the independents that are really good. They will definitely have all the contact information. Sometimes from the majors, it'll just have their name on it.
So why do you love disco? What makes it special? What makes it different from Dropbox?
Well, it's just much more user-friendly for what I need it for.
Okay.
Dropbox, I think, is really good. Like, I'll use Dropbox for, like, my files and admin stuff. But for music, it's a great way to organize my music. So I have all of my shows and all of my pitches in there. And then, I'll have a general music folder where, I'll have 60s, 70s, reggae, rock, world music, Afrobeat, and so everything can kind of go in there. But it's just, and it can hold a lot more music. And I hate iTunes. No disrespect.
Sure. No, of course. So do you request pitches through disco now? I mean, when you're
I send out my disco link and I say, upload your music here, make sure all the metadata's in there.
Amazing.
And that's usually...
Yeah. When did that switch for you? When did you start using disco?
I don't remember. Maybe a year ago. I don't know.
Okay.
I just was hearing about it and I was seeing it. And I like the interface.
Yeah.
It's clean. It's not too busy. I can organize it whatever way I want to. It's just very user friendly, and since it's up in the cloud, I'm not going to lose my shit when. Sorry,
you can swear. That's fine. It's
I'm not going to lose it when iTunes crashes.
When it crashes, yes. From an independent artist's standpoint, indie artists are always looking for basically how to get their music to music supervisors in a way that they're going to actually listen to the music. And so I've been trying to distill, how do you remove the most amount of friction to get your music there? And I've just been hearing like disco kind of makes it really easy. And so that's kind of a way.
Yeah.
When you receive pitches from anybody, like how do you like to be contacted? Do you like to be contacted, or do you just want to go after, find music on your own?
I mean, it's tricky because, there is that like trust factor that I don't necessarily have with artists who will say, yeah, I own everything. And it's like, no, you don't, bro. Right. Or no, I don't think you own that Journey sample that's in there.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. And so my ass is on the line when I'm licensing this music. So I do prefer to get music through independent licensing companies and independent pitchers that I have relationships with that I can call or email, and they'll get back to me right away when I need to clear something on the mix stage, and I literally need it cleared now.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a really interesting point about artists not really understanding ownership and all of that. And hip hop, I'm sure, that's probably the most challenging because so many artists, especially bedroom producers and bedroom, hip hop artists, use samples that they don't realize that they can't legally do.
Old Town Road.
Right.
A perfect example.
Exactly. The Nine Inch Nails, I'm sure, was very pleased in the end
yes.
with it.
Yeah. I used the song.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, right. They've been doing quite well from that, I'm sure. But, right, the initial producer who sold the song for $30 to Lil Nas X.
Totally
right.
stole.
Yeah.
Just stole it.
Didn't realize. I mean, knew, but didn't think anybody would catch him or something. I don't know.
I think he just didn't know that he probably had to do it, or that he couldn't do it, or there was a copyright issue.
So are there any tools that you use to help you with clearance so nothing falls through the cracks? I mean, do you have like audio recognition software? Do you like... No. Okay. So you just trust the person that you're talking to if they say that they own 100%.
Well, I mean, again, it depends. That's why I prefer to go through companies that are vetting it and have contracts and reps and warranties and stuff like that. But it's just... usually I do license a lot of stuff from independent artists, but it's just, it's hard because it's like, okay, well, who owns it? All right, well, who's the writers? I figured out the questions to ask, especially with the hip hop kids. Who's the producer? Like, okay, who owns it? I own everything. Okay, who made the beat?
Yeah.
Oh, whoever.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well then, is he a writer on the song? Well, I don't know. And it's just digging deeper and deeper. And then I, for one artist, I had to go one step further because I'm listening to the beat, or they just said, yeah, no, they own it. It's a sample from, I don't know, some like Japanese film score or something. And I was like, okay, goodbye. I just can't because I just don't have time to go through it.
Yeah.
Constantly, or they'll send me rough mixes. And I'm like, I'm not going to, there was an incident in Euphoria with a label that sent me, rough mixes of stuff or demos. And I put it in, and then we got the finished version, and it was different. And Sam was like, I'm not feeling this. I want what we've been living with.
Right.
So thankfully, the artist would let us use that. And then when they released the song, it was something else. But it's like,
that's tough.
Rough version 3.2 audio REF. And I'm like, I just can't.
Yeah. Are these artists that you're discovering just through your own research? And you're like, oh, wow, this is a really cool song. And then you kind of have to track them down and have those conversations that way?
Yep. Word of mouth too. Friends of friends.
Okay.
I kind of find it everywhere. And sometimes when people call, I try to listen to everything when it looks like it's, there's... no spelling mistake, shit like that. Like somebody wrote, I really admire, your work, YOU''RE. And I was just like, I can't. and I know that's really picky, but it's it's just, okay, well, you just have to be detail oriented, or, what are the splits? And they just send me all the producer, PKAs. And I'm like, no, I need their real legal names.
Yes.
Who's their publishing company, ASCAP. ASCAP is not so it's just, so I think for independent artists, it's just a matter of really educating yourself on how to license your music. What do splits mean? What is ASCAP and BMI? Do you have splits? Just have that information to make my life easier, which will make my life easier to sync your music.
Totally.
If you don't have that, after I go back and forth 3 times, I'm done. Next. I just, in TV, you don't have that time. And just when there's 27 songs in one episode of Euphoria, I don't have physical time.
Right. Now, when you, getting back to kind of the discovering how you find music, I'm very curious to know the tools you use. I mean, are you using like Spotify Discover Weekly? Are you going through SoundCloud? Are you everywhere? Are you on TikTok? How are you looking at music right now?
Everything.
You are? Okay. And do you spend much of your days and your time in active discovery, or is it kind of just as you hear stuff, you Shazam it and just kind of figure out, that kind of a thing?
Both.
All of it. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's just whenever I hear a song that I'm like, ooh, this could be good for either one of my current projects or just something to go into my someday sync list.
Okay.
Or, I have playlists that I share with a couple colleagues of like, cool music that we find to just share.
Cool.
It's my girls. It's 3 other music supervisors that I'm super tight with.
Yeah.
But everything. I mean, Instagram, SoundCloud, TikTok, Audio Mac.
Yeah.
Not Facebook, but Spotify.
Okay.
Apple Music.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
So you're
shit that I just coming, Sirius satellite radio, like everything.
Okay. What advice would you give independent artists who are looking to get their music synced more? Let's say maybe they've had a couple or maybe they've had none. Like, what do you recommend artists on how they can kind of break into sync licensing?
I mean, look, it's hard. We get a lot of emails. I have a lot of stuff going on. I think it's important to know your business, to have splits figured out, make sure you have full legal names, you know who represents everybody, that owns the copyright, be registered with a PRO. Have contact for everybody, have an instrumental available, have high-res files available, have a clean available if there's...
Like no swearing?
Correct.
Yeah.
And, for one of the networks that I work for, they want what's called a clean wipe, or I heard syllable to syllable, meaning if you're saying fuck in your song, you can't hear f and have it be like silent, or...
Right.
Like you can't hear that.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be completely removed. Or if you have the luxury of saying another word, then you can do that as well. So it's not like a complete dropout.
Do you need stems? Are they helpful?
I think I never do.
Okay.
I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think trailers like to have stems from going to panels and stuff, because I know nothing about trailers, but I love learning about because it's such a different business.
Right.
And I know that they'll really fuck with stems and stuff. But I don't usually need them.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Very, very rarely. But I think it's important to know, when I have people email me about, getting their music at Insecure, I'm like, yeah, I don't do that show, bro. So that's kind of a turn off.
Right. Do your research.
Yeah. And also try and find independent licensing companies. There's a million out there, and try and get on board with them, because those are the people. So they can sign off on everybody. So I don't have to do, there's 4 writers doing 4 quote requests and 4 master requests. Like one stops are always much better.
Yes.
But knowing also, so when I say, okay, who's this person's publishing company, is it with them, like, just know who it is, even whether it's like Universal, but also whether it's Pulse or Cobalt, because that will change how I can use the song. Meaning, with some of the majors, they just, demand more money. And there's not, my manager can make a call. That doesn't work. That's very bad business between me and my sync licensing people at the labels. It creates bad blood. That's only when it's like something really crazy important, but I try to never ever do that. Or if I do that, it's like, hey, Warner Chappell, just so you know, like the manager's involved in this one, whatever. But that's never going to happen. Like, my manager will, no. So if a writer on the song is with a major or one of the major indies, that's going to change how I can pitch the song, because I know that I'm going to need to have more money for that. And I might be filling out a party scene with 3 or 4 just, background, vibe type music.
Sure.
That instead of, going to a library, I'd rather support an independent artist, give them $3,000, get them in a cool show. But I can't, Pulse or Universal will never clear anything for $3,000.
Right.
So then I'm not going to put it there. I'm going to wait until I have a spot where I can spend that money.
And so for artists to know all of this information going in, when you collaborate with another songwriter or artist or producer, knowing are they represented by a major publisher, because that is going to affect your...
Or just who the publisher is, because sometimes people would never think that, you know, Cobalt is a major, but they are,
Sure.
you know, they're amazing and they own a lot of copyrights and,
Right.
you know, Pulse or Big Deal, like just because it's not, you know, Sony ATV, Warner Chappell, BMG, or Universal, there are other major publishers.
Totally. And you made a really great point. Go work with a licensing company, a sync licensing company, because you know that they vet their music. You know that you're not going to have to deal with clearing samples or educating on, you know, that, you know, this is a sample and you have to get this cleared, or
right.
and then figure out the other parties and everything like that.
And if there is a sample, like, it's just, don't not give us the information because you're afraid we're going to not move forward with a license or something. You know what I mean? Don't try to hide it. Like, just tell me, because maybe that means I'll get you a bigger placement. You know, just don't. And if there's a sample in the song, either take it out or do what you need to do, and that is on you to figure out what needs to be done so that, you know,
to clear it.
You can clear it.
Right.
Know your business. Know what you're getting into. Don't tell me when I ask who your publishing company is, do not say ASCAP or BMI.
Yep.
Just don't, because that's a click.
Yeah. When you're talking about independent artists, and because you placed so many independent artists over the years, I'm curious, what would you advise for artists to do to best set themselves up for success, to make your job the easiest it can be, so you can get to that yes with your producers and they're not giving you any more headaches?
Yeah. So generally speaking, the paperwork I'm sending any indie artist is the same paperwork I'm sending Katy Perry. So sometimes I feel like with indie artists, there's a little bit of like, contract, like, I don't want to be taken advantage of, rightfully so. What does this mean? Blah, blah, blah. But then the other part of me is like, this is the sheet. It's like from Netflix. I can't change Netflix. So, like, you know, this is what it is. Take it or leave it. And generally those rights these days are all media, excluding theatrical, for worldwide rights in perpetuity. So that just means, you know, your song can go in a project forever and ever, whether that project comes out on DVD or streaming. The only place it can't go, if it's a TV show, is theatrical. When you do work on a movie, you get the whole kit and caboodle, including theatrical. But so, you know if you've written with anybody, settle your splits, know your splits, know who's involved. Are you going to be signing off on your writer? And you should have a piece of paperwork saying that you have the right to do that. If you plan to try to make it a one-stop meaning Ari owns his recording and his publishing. Maybe he co-wrote this one song, but it's 50-50 and he made a deal with the writer that he can sign off on him. And if that writer wants to sign off for himself, that's fine too. Just, you know, the first thing I will be like, okay, I often ask, do you own 100% master or 100% publishing? And it's okay if the answer is no. I just want to know who the other part is, right? I'm hoping it's another unsigned artist so that, you know, it can keep you in the same fee range at least, right? Because I generally like pitch in kind of fee ranges. If I've pitched you for a spot that only has $1,000 and then later down the road, you tell me, oh, right, I co-wrote this and my co-writer is with Universal Music Publishing. Well, now I'm up a creek because they're not going to be cool with $500 aside. So those are the situations I'm trying to avoid. And it's fine if you wrote with a big writer. I just need to know that up front so that I don't pitch you for the background of a bar that only is $1,000.
So when an artist is sending you, maybe if you get in touch with the artist, you found their song somewhere and you want to use it, or the artist is pitching you directly because they did their research and they found it's like, wow, Virgin River would be the perfect show for my new folk pop song. To upfront say I own 100, or just at least I own 100% of both sides, or you know, lay out who owns what with contact information is probably a good way to get to open that conversation maybe?
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing that you want to say is, what does your music sound like? Because I'm getting like 100 emails a day, and I'm like radar looking for like, oh, okay, Virgin River, like I'm looking for acoustic indie pop, right? Or like, the occasional dramatic song. When I worked on Shadowhunters, we used a lot of electronic based music. So if that was like a keyword, it would catch my eye. Not looking for anything using hip hop right now. Although when Warrior Nun comes up, I might be like, Warrior Nun is a very international show, and we like to use music from around the country. So, cool. Spanish artist with Spanish lyrics, like super cool, right? So I have kind of like little buzzwords in my head. So it helps me if you can tell me a little bit what your sound is, or if you want to reference a band, or a couple bands that you might be similar to. That's actually, I know people don't like to be put in a box, but it's actually really helpful when you're trying to get somebody's attention.
I mean, you're probably you said you get so many pitches and you're moving quickly. And if I put in the subject line, sounds like the Weepies and Gregory Alan Isakov, you're like, oh wow, they're both in the show I'm working on right now in Virgin River, and like I could use them right now, so perfect, and that's probably an easy in. Now, where do you land on how you want to receive the music? Do you like disco playlists? Do you prefer Dropbox? Like, what do you prefer personally? I
just like a place where I can both stream and download. I know there are supervisors out there supposedly who only like streaming links. I don't, for me, that's frustrating because if I like a song, I need the MP3 because I need to send the editor an MP3. So if I like a song, I want to be able to download it now. I don't want to have to write you and ask you for a download and then if I don't get a chance to write you, I may just forget about it. Do you know what I mean? So,
sure.
So disco's great. Dropbox is great. Box is great. Hightail is like fine, but I can't listen in advance. So if I don't know your music in advance, it helps me to be able to like sample something. I'm probably not going to download it if I don't know what it sounds like.
What would you recommend for an artist who wants to get some of their songs placed? Like, I'll give you a little background, like how I got my song placed on One Tree Hill. Now this is, mind you, 2010. So we're talking 10 years ago. I literally tweeted my song to Lindsay Wolfington, and you can't really do that anymore. That's not like really going to happen. And, fortunately, I mean, it all worked out. And it was great. But like, you're probably not recommending that you tweet your songs to music supervisors anymore. I don't know.
It's not going to stop
recommend?
People. It's not going to stop
True.
people. So that's what it is. That's the joke. But I think, well, I firmly believe in, relationship building. It's really that simple. I think that, yes, we do, as supervisors, we do prefer going through one of those companies, like, someone to pitch on your behalf. But, you'd be surprised. I think sometimes it could be as simple as just reaching out. Like you said, you tweeted Lindsay. Sometimes reach out to some supervisors. But I think the key is that a lot of people kind of just throw the Hail Mary, like be very precise in your approach. Like if you know that you do this particular sound, figure out whose work, what shows and what movies and what projects are using your sound, and then figure out who's working on that. Reach out to that person and send them a detailed message like, hey, person, I know you worked on this show, that show, and that show. I love the music and I have stuff in that lane and was curious, what is your or do you have a submission process or whatever? Because sometimes people are like, hey man, my music would be perfect for your stuff. And I'm like, what stuff?
Right.
Well, for all of it. It works for everything. No, it doesn't. You're crazy. And because that's just how it is. And I know, like I said, I understand, especially now with, you can't do the touring thing and venues are shut down. So sync is like booming in a sense. And it's about to be even bigger when, production starts back up for everyone. But I think that, like I said, just taking a strategic approach is really the best decision, like reaching out to people based on what you have and what they've done, hitting up IMDb to see what are their past projects. Do they have a sound that they typically go after? Like it requires a lot of work that sometimes, to be honest, I don't think people are willing to do.
Sure.
So it's just a matter of doing the complete legwork, and just reaching out. But that really is the best thing. If you're going to reach out to people blindly, at least give them a reason to open your email, so that they know that you've done your part.
I love that. I mean, that's so key. And that was gold, what you just said. So everyone listening to this, I hope you had your notebook out and taking furious notes, because he basically wrote the email for you. But it was great. And it's like, it was really, yes, start off, open your email with, I've done my research. I mean, you don't say I've done my research, but basically you cited their shows, you show admiration, and you basically compliment them on their work that they've done. They're people too. They have emotions.
Man. Yeah, man. And I have off hours too. Like, man, look, I get a lot of emails and stuff where people are like, hey man, can you just listen to my song? Like, hey man, it's like 12:30 on a Sunday. What? Like, I'm just chilling. Like just kind of course, be respectful of people's time. And once again, I know we're in this like weird culture where it's like, hey man, work. Sometimes just, you got to remember that people are human, and that's always the best approach is to meet people like they're human, and do the exact same thing, Yeah.
I love that. So let's go on the other side now. If somebody wants to become a music supervisor, how would they do that? Where do they begin? Let's say they're not at a school that has the ability to place them with an internship like the route that you went. What would be your recommendation on how somebody can break into this?
That's a good question too, because once again, my first school, I didn't know anything about music supervision, and now I know it's something that's being taught a lot. And that would be a recommendation as well. I think that there are some programs out there that folks are offering, whether it's, UCLA or Berkeley or whatever, that offer courses that you don't have to be on campus to take in or learn about it. Those are routes. But like I said, I think that the best thing that you can do is really the same approach. You can do the exact same approach if you reach out to certain music supervisors and say, hey guys, or hey, whoever, I'm interested in your work and I want to do this. There's a difference in how music supervisors will respond to somebody who just wants to pitch music versus someone who's interested in supervision. So I think that if that is your goal, I know that there are a couple books out there that are very good. And, even something like this, clearly, if someone's here, that means they care a little bit more about it than, maybe the average person. But I think that, reach out to them as well and let them know what your intentions are. But I ultimately think that you get something like this from, learning and working under people. I've had some great people to show me how to get to where I am. And I think it starts there, but also I know I hate to sound cliche. I hate sounding cliche, but it really is as simple as listening to everything, watching as many projects as you can. I'll be one of the first to tell you that, man, before the baby, we were watching legit every show. And even now, I'm pretty caught up on a lot of shows. Like my queue is getting a little bit longer, but I watch stuff too because I want to see what folks are doing. And I want to hear, are there trends that are happening, and as a whole, because our industry is very trend driven as well, whether that's, and I don't mean just trailers. I just mean, sync in general, there are some things that'll stand out. Like I know for a while it was like, hey, what's Kanye doing? And it became a thing because he was making a certain sound. And, on the other side, it's like, hey, what's Pitbull and Flow Rider doing, or what's this artist doing. So there are trends. So it becomes a matter of trying to identify that as well.
Cool. That's a really great tip. And I'm assuming when you're watching these shows, you're naturally researching who the supervisor is for that show and
immediately. Yeah.
Right. Of course.
If I'm not like looking like on screen, like who's the soup? Oh, okay, cool. Then I'm on IMDb. Like I got IMDb quick on my phone, for that very same reason. So yeah.
That's awesome. And someone who's looking to break in, they can similarly take note of that, watch the show, and maybe a show that they love the music to, they can even just shoot that soup, a DM, an email, something, just saying, hey, great work on this. I really love the music that you placed. This scene really spoke to me. The song you placed, good job. And you could just start there and like without even asking for anything in return. And like how many compliment, like who's going to turn their nose up at just a compliment? Like everyone appreciates compliments. So why not just compliment start?
Yeah, people typically respond well to compliments. Right. You know what I mean? So I do recommend that. But like you said, it really just comes down to, it's going to always be about doing the work, doing the research. Unfortunately, I do have to say that I think that music supervision now is becoming almost the equivalent of how the perception of music supervision is like how people perceive A&R. They're like, oh, I know talent. I can break an artist. I know who's hot, and it's like, it's more to the job than that. Usually when people say I have a good ear for, music, I'm like, all right, cool. I hope you can work well with people. I hope you're not a jerk. When it gets late at night and you're working on the same thing and you've seen the same piece of visual for hours on end, like that's what matters. The organization, knowing who works at what place. And, like I said, relationship building, those are the things that I think stand out more. Organization, good grief, the organization, because, I love jazz. I love jazz. I love jazz, R&B, soul, whatever. I'm actually wearing a Robert Glasper shirt right now. I love jazz.
Nice. Yeah.
But I use jazz so infrequently at my job. Yep. Like we just did the trailer for the film Soul, and I was like, oh shoot, I like lost my mind for a good day and a half. Like, oh, I'm gonna give them all my stuff. But it's so infrequent that I get to pitch stuff that I actually listen to. So I always tell people, get out that comfort zone. Listen to stuff that you wouldn't ordinarily listen to. And when I say that, I don't mean, hey man, I usually listen to, country. So today I'm gonna listen to pop. No, I mean like, look, man, I'm gonna listen to some stuff from 40 years ago that I wasn't familiar with. And I'm gonna listen to some stuff from this era. I'm gonna listen to some B-side artists from the 60s and 70s. And I'm going to listen to that because what it does is when I was in school and they were teaching us how to scat, they would say, you listen to these records to learn how to build your vocabulary. And it really is the same thing. As a supervisor, you're just building your vocabulary. If you like some of the greatest supervisors that I look up to, man, they can have a whole hour-long discussion with you on some random B-side act from the 40s. And I sit in awe at that, man. Like, I know that there are people who are out there. And when you see their work, you can tell. You can see their work and you're like, man, how did they find that? And I don't want to call names or whatever, but I would have to mention, when I first saw Breaking Bad, and I was like, man, this music that is in this joint it was so perfect that, like, to this day, I always tell people I think that that's probably one of the best souped projects that I've ever seen in my life, man. And Thomas Skolubic, like, he's insane. But then you hear him talk and you're like, no wonder it's so good. This dude is like a music encyclopedia, man. So I think that that's something that any aspiring music supervisor has to make the commitment to be, just study the work completely in totality, and, don't leave your feelings at the door. It's not always going to go your way. And when I say not always, I mean hardly ever, know.
Cool. That's a great tip and really great pointers. Thank you for that. What would you recommend to artists if they want to have more success getting their music synced in general, what do you recommend to artists? What do you say to them?
So the things that always come up for us and have for 12 years is produce alt versions. So you want to have an instrumental version, almost always, even if what lured them was a band track, they're almost always going to need the instrumental. So having the instrumental version, having a clean version, if you have explicit lyrics.
Okay.
When you're talking about lyrical content, going more general and less specific is better for sync. If you can talk about things generically, about love generically, or unification generically, or female empowerment generically, then you're going to have a lot more opportunities, as opposed to, I'm talking about the breakup with this person and my dog died. So I think it's,
right.
Just, and then,
I learned that the hard way. I have a song called San Vicente Boulevard, and I'm taking, and the chorus is I'm taking a walk down San Vicente Boulevard, and they're like, this song is never getting synced, because if they're walking down Sunset Boulevard, they can't use the song I'm taking a walk down San Vicente Boulevard, or if it's just like, it's so specific that it's just like, it doesn't work. Or if like I drop, Ben Folds is one of my favorite artists, but he name drops people all the time. Most of his songs, he's like, oh, Zach and Sarah, or it's like, well, if the main characters are named Jerome and Andrea, you can't use the song Zach and Sarah that keeps going Zach and Sarah over and over and over again, because it's too specific. It's not going to work when you're trying to get into the TV show, and there's Zach and Sarah in the background that just keeps going over and over, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So, okay. Great advice. Love that. Keep it universal, not specific. Have instrumentals. Do you recommend stems?
Yeah. Okay, I do.
So,
it's only been recently, but everything on ASX has stems.
And stems, actually, meaning like drums, like here's the drums soloed out. Here are the vocals soloed out. That's what you mean by stems, right? Here,
exactly.
And how many stems do you typically want?
I think our stem packets, typically we're getting 5 stems, but more advanced composers will deliver more than that, and they'll do alt versions as well, where there's sort of like built-in edit loops, and there's more production elements that really kind of give the editor something to work with, something easier to work with than if it's, just an ongoing thing. So those are also great things to pay attention to as production elements. I would recommend they go watch the latest movie trailers, go watch the latest ads, and really emulate what you're hearing in those things. Pay attention to what is syncing. Yeah. And on the stems note, this is a side note. Sorry, I'm going to divert for just a minute, but there is a new company that we did a license agreement with for them to use all of our music to train their AI. And the stems coming out of it are fantastic. It's another female CEO company in the music and tech industry, which I love. It's called Audiosocket, and yeah, they're fantastic. So we're actually going to be doing a little kind of promo with them to get their tech out to artists to see if artists are stemming things these days.
And you're saying it uses AI? The AI creates how does this work? What does it do?
Yeah. I don't even, it's pretty mind blowing. She came from Google, and all I can say is she's super smart. And she's got a really amazing tech on her hands that I think is going to do great. So
cool.
yeah,
well,
you deliver the track, and a few minutes later you get a stemmed out version.
Crazy. I can't even imagine how that works, but that's incredible. And I can't wait to see that. That would definitely save me from the headache of forgetting to get stems for my mixing engineer, and then a year later saying, hey, we need your stems by 3 p.m. today, and my mixing engineer is in the Bahamas, and then I can't get it. So rule of thumb, always don't pay your mixing engineer the final amount until you get those stems and instrumentals. Like that needs to be negotiated in the contract from the get-go. Okay. So, other great advice. Anything else you would advise musicians if they want to be successful in sync? Should they, when it comes to should they be spending their time building relationships with music supervisors, or do you think they should find representation like an Audiosocket or ASX?
I don't know any artists that go direct to music supervisors, or better yet, I don't know any music supervisors that work direct with artists. There's legal issues, professional music liability insurance. There's all kinds of things that you need to have in place. So I don't know of a lot of success stories of an artist just going direct.
When it comes to negotiating credit and especially for some of the more premier placements, your TV shows, your trailers, your ads and stuff like that, what goes into that contract, and how do you make sure that if the spot is going to be used in a very public way, that credit is given, if at all, or just how that works, and do you have any negotiation power there?
We don't. It is in every one of our contracts, but it says basically attribution, and it says artists should be attributed in this way, but there's no liability to it. And a big part of that is ads. I mean, I don't know exactly where ads are credited, meaning somebody could probably find that song with Shazam or different techniques, but
sure.
A lot of places you don't credit. And where you can credit, we always encourage it. I mean, we are constantly sending the cue sheets saying, report these, get the credits in, make sure they're right. But I know that that's definitely not always the case. And how they credit it, we can't control either. And so, like I said, I mean, I think our contract is even online. Like, you can look at how we put it into our contract for attribution, and then they have to be willing to attribute.
So then when you've made that decision and you know where the moments are that you're going to place music, what's the next stage of the process to actually obtain that music and clear it and place it and massive head drop? Yeah, step me through that.
It's the part I hate the most.
Okay.
It's the part that nobody likes to talk about, which is this is a part of the music business, is the licensing aspect, and many supervisors are tasked with clearing the music, which is why you will meet a lot of supervisors who have law degrees.
Wow.
I like to think I have an imaginary one, because I am forced to get in the trenches with licensing departments, managers, lawyers. I mean, I have that language. I speak a second language, legalese.
Sure.
And yes, I have to go out and find every single party who is involved in the song, and every single party has to sign off on the use. My briefs famously hold the line, "If you don't know where the bodies are buried, do not send the song."
So, does that mean that I'm going to break that down? That means, like, if there's 3 co-writers on a song that you're submitting, if you can't track down one of the co-writers on this song, don't even bother sending me the song, because that's going to be a clearing nightmare. Is that kind of one of those bodies that we're talking about? Okay.
That's very mean.
Yeah.
Or you used a sample and you chose not to tell anyone. That's an issue.
Yes.
People,
Yes.
Listen, having your song placed in media is very exciting, and it can have a ripple effect to raise someone's success. It is a stream to make money. There's a lot of good things that come from a placement. And when someone is in the excitement of that possibility, they forget stuff. Like telling you there's a sample in the song, or that actually the producer whose studio they recorded it in, that guy owns the master.
Wow.
Like, they just forget to tell you stuff. And while it can all that sweater can be unraveled and we can reknit it and figure it out, sometimes the timetable, especially in television, is a very short window to turn things around. So it can be super problematic to be tasked with clearing music, and not everybody is prepared to do their part.
Sure.
Which is why I don't enjoy it.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense. And that's probably why I imagine a lot of the work that you do now and who you interface with has kind of, you're only really working with the people who understand this fully, like your sync agents, your one-stops, your music publishers and record labels who know the intricacies and the nuances and legally what needs to be cleared and why. Yeah, and why. I mean, I'm assuming. Well, I guess the question is, do you actually go direct to artists anymore, or do you work with artists directly, or have you kind of been burned too many times, or just artists just don't realize everything that goes into a song or needs to be cleared, or they just conveniently forget about some of those bodies?
Yeah, well, I mean, it goes back to the excitement of it.
Sure.
Like there's often, I'll hear something. I'm, a rabid Shazammer. It's not unusual to see me standing in the middle of a supermarket with my, looking for the speaker, and I go stand under it and, with my cart. Or to be in a bar and roll up and ask them, what am I hearing? Cool. Things like that. And so I'm always, I'm always open to, and I find it very exciting to discover new music. The problem is, if somebody doesn't have licensing experience, does not know how to license their music, does not have somebody representing them for that, the unfortunate thing is I don't have the time to teach you.
Sure. Yes.
And to walk you through it. That's the bummer of it.
Yeah.
Is that I think all supervisors, the excitement on our side of it is not only the discovery of new artists and new music, but I think more than anyone, there's a race to the finish line to be the first.
Sure.
I love getting that email when they go, oh my God, thank you. This is their first placement. I'm like, that's a win for me. That says that, they have successfully got their song out there. I've heard it. No doubt other people want to hear it and discover it. That's a great feeling. But you need to have the right people behind you. Good news is there's been a tremendous amount of books written, podcasts, panels given by organizations. There's a million different ways if someone is serious. And let me stress that. You need to be serious about your desire to step into having your music licensed. And you need to educate yourself about it. There's enough resources, more so than when I started 20 plus years ago. There's so many resources for people to go out and learn how to do this, and hence make my job easier. Hence make it more appealing to me to roll the dice on you if I know that there's someone in your camp that knows what they're doing. Because at the end of the day, this step in the process is legally binding. And if something goes wrong, the person whose name is on the paperwork is mine. I had a project I did 2 years ago, and I cleared a song. I had assurances by pretty reliable people that they controlled the song. I licensed it. It got papered. Everyone got paid. It aired. Then I got an email saying, that song has my writer on it.
Uh-oh.
And I had never done this in my career. I had to go back and tell the other folks, you need to give me some of that money back. Send it back to, you need to write a check and send it to the studio.
Yeah.
We need to reconfigure your splits, taking into consideration this third writer that you didn't know about.
Right. Wow.
You need to tell any of your other publishers and writers that their shares are going to be reduced. I mean, I had to go through all of this. Knock wood, the person who came to me and said, my writer is on that song, I knew to be a legitimate source to be saying that to me, and thankfully knew and respected me enough to know that I would never do that on purpose, that I had not been given the correct information, and I was able to rectify it without any legalities or whatever. We just went back, redid it, got a bit of a refund, redirected the money. But I mean, it's frightening. And it's a position that no supervisor wants to, be a part of. I mean, if not handled correctly and remedied correctly, that's a big black mark. They become a risky hire.
In terms of artists who are listening right now, and let's say they want to work with Bank Robber, what is your recommendation for artists? Or let's say it's, do you take on new artists very often? Do you take on direct unsolicited submissions? And if so, how do you recommend people submit to you to represent them?
Yeah, we do. I really enjoy that we do listen to the demos that come through to us. I feel like a lot of companies don't, or they just kind of like ignore it. And we honestly listen to a lot of them, regardless of how bad or how good they are. Nice. And I feel like, it's really important to kind of like tailor the email or the way that you're reaching out to this company to the company. Like if somebody emails info@Bank Robber, I don't know if we're going to see it, but if somebody like
we do,
but
and
we do listen to them. But if somebody like emails me specifically and like figures out my email, I'll probably pay a little more attention to that that artist and give them a little bit more of a listen. But I think that cold emailing is pretty successful. It's like, if we will listen to it. So
I mean, it depends. Like we'll look at it and go, "Oh, look, it's." I'm not even going to say Harry Styles. But we'll just say like, "Oh, look, this might be something we need." I mean, we do, especially to the info address. We get a ton of emails, and I think AJ or Johnny, one of the cats, vets them. And then we have a 4-person creative team, and we vote. Because you shouldn't have the 57-year-old white guy deciding what the music should be that we're working with anymore. I mean, I would only sign bands that sound like Cheap Trick and The Clash, and that's definitely not what we need right now. I mean, and I think, if it's like female electro pop, I'll be like, I don't know, it sounds okay to me, a trap hop or whatever robot rock that I don't understand that well. It's just like, somebody tell me, I mean, I know through the briefs what we need. Yeah. And that's the thing, like if people are looking at like if you're like a 50-year-old white guy that plays rock and you look at our website and you think you're better than any of the bands that we work in that genre, okay, bring it on. But I think there's a lot to be said for people, like other companies need that. Like look at the other companies. They need that. They need rock. They need that stuff. It's like, we don't need it that much. So, and so I like when somebody's like, hey, we're from, Mars and we sing in Swahili and, and it's like, oh shit, we need that Mars rap music really bad. So they've actually done some work to see what our company might need. So,
well, that was my next question. What is the perfect email pitch, and what do you like to see in a cold reach out email, and what would be the ideal pitch from an artist?
I feel like so many times when I get pitches through emails, a lot of people are like, we sound exactly like these bands that you guys have, and we'd be great on your roster too. And it's like, okay, well, we already have these bands. Like Lyle was saying, it's really awesome when somebody just kind of has done their research and is like, this is what we sound like. Nobody ever really says like, we could fill in the gaps, but they're like, this is what we sound like. We would love to work with you. We love that you represent these bands. So it's like, okay, they know about our company, but they also are doing their own thing.
Yeah. Like, and basic rock, if you like. I mean, we don't use those terms, but if they're coming at us and they go, we sound like ABBA meets Black Sabbath, we'll be like, let's listen to that fucking shit. Yeah.
Cool.
And if they put a dog picture with it, great. But do not send downloadable music.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
You know, that
No.
it's got to be streaming. My fucking computer cannot take it. You know, it's just like, just streaming link, do your homework, you know, fucking figure out how to send the song streaming.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
get it on disco. I feel like
get it on disco. Yeah, that'd be super
that'll
dope.
put you way ahead. Yeah. Like I always notice those ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're like, I write the songs, or you know, I wrote all these songs with my cousin and he's signed to Sony, you know, you should say that up front. Like, we are looking for one stop, you know, that we are looking for the easy, clear stuff, you know. So that's very important when they come at us. Like, oh yeah, my stuff's easy, clear, you know. And look, if you're just doing shit on your computer and you're not doing gigs and you just think you're blowing up and you have like 4 followers on Spotify, you know, maybe don't send it yet. You know, like a lot of our time, our job is breaking the bands that our labels have signed. You know what I mean? Like, no one knows a lot of these bands. And if you're not even really band rock, like if you're just hobby rock, you know, we're not hobby rock. This is our full-time gig. Give us something that you're really committed to, you know, that you really, you know, don't try to do 10 genres just because you think you're going to get more placements. Just do what you know, all the bands that crush with sync aren't writing songs to the sad doctor scene. They're just writing great songs and they win, you know, and it's like, do not think about that stuff. It drives us absolutely nuts. We are happy to lead artists that we work with. What do we need? You know, we need fucking holiday Christmas songs. Come on, people. Bring us your Hanukkah songs and Christmas songs, because every year starting in May, people want new Christmas songs.
Okay.
And all our bands are like, oh my God, no more. I can't do another Christmas song. So find your public domain jams and do some. Now, but yeah. So anyway, but with the bands that are sending us their shit, you know, believe in your, you know, if you're a real band and you're crushing it, yeah, great. But if you're, you know, your dad and you're just like, oh, I think this song will work really great, you know, it's like, dude, come on. Alan, do not fucking follow up. We really do. If we're not writing you, it means like no news is bad news or whatever. You know, it's like come the fuck on, dude. Through email, I got it. I got your demo. You know what? I don't like it. I don't want to write that.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's very helpful.
It makes me feel bad.
What do you look for in artists when you are looking to sign them to your roster, and how often are you signing artists, and how does that all work?
Yeah, you know, I mean, my background from the label side, I came from marketing and radio and did some DJing in the heyday. So my ears are trained where, you know, it's all about the hook and the production, and sort of loosely, if I hear a song that could be on the radio, that typically will equate to being sync friendly. And as far as it checks off all the boxes that I'm looking for, you know, oh my God, this, you know, it still gives me that, you know, that feeling of like I'm at a record shop digging into the crates. This artist is amazing. And then, you know, the storytelling, you know, will the song sync up to picture? Because, you know, as a sync agent, you know, Jason and I, we're in the business, we're selling emotion. So we're only as good as the artists that we work with and their songs and the storytelling. You know, if we work with artists that all they write is love songs, hey, that's great. But, you know, that's only one sliver of the pie when we're getting briefs. You know, there's, you know, so kind of looking at the lay of the land of, you know, do they have those qualities, the it factor, you know, uniqueness in the voice, the production. Do I feel it? Just, you know, it's so subjective. What I might feel, you may be like, you know, it's whatever. So then as far as how often, you know, that's a continual, we do have, you know, our label partners and clients that we work with, a handful that they continually give us new content. But still what I really get up in the morning and amps me up is working with, you know, independent artists that they're just doing it on their own. And I find them on Spotify or find them in the IG feed. And to be able, you know, we have countless stories where, you know, working with an independent artist, we helped place them, and their team behind them, they blew up the next day. They got signed to a label. Flora Cash is one example. We worked with Lenka, early days, and then they go on and get signed, and they were like, hey, that we did what we had to do as a sync agent, get the looks, get the placement for that artist, and be part of that team, because it's so integral as an independent artist, as you're building your team. Who's your sync agent? Who's your manager? Do they have the relationships? And the rest is up to timing and a lot of luck and hard work.
Yeah. To manage expectations for artists, I guess when you bring an artist onto your roster, how do you help? Like, what should an artist expect? How many placements should they expect? They now have Blue Buddha Entertainment, widely respected for 2 decades in the industry, working on their behalf. Are they going to be millionaires tomorrow? Are they going to get, placements every other day? Like, what are the expectations and how does this work? Like, how do you communicate to your artists so they can manage those expectations and know what to expect?
So, it is now, compared to early days, it is a longer slog, so to speak, as far as, competition. There's, everyone has a studio, everyone has the talent is there, with libraries, independent artists, globally, we're competing, with publishers, labels, art, music's everywhere. So then whether does the song sync to picture? Mm-hmm. So to manage the expectation, if we work with artists and we get them those looks, meaning, at the end of the day, after a year or 6 months, and we say, hey, we pitched your songs to these shows. We didn't get the placement because creatively it didn't fit, but we got you the looks. So at the bare minimum, getting those looks where is your song considered for a placement, and having those relationships. So, are they going to be swimming in the dough year one? Maybe not, but it's building that story. And when we do get that first placement, then we use that as marketing promotion. And then maybe we'll do a meet and greet, if the artist is performing, get the soups down. Because as there's no replacement for seeing an artist live and in the flesh. And, when a super experiences seeing an artist perform live, and then they go back the next day, they're working on a brief, that song is in their head, like, I can't, that hook is there. And then when they're going through their music of 5,000 songs, they're like, hey, Chase Walker Band, boom, he's a great guy, I want to help him. Yeah, I love that. That's a really good point, that you're talking about relationship building. And to music supervisors are music fans too. And so it's like, I remember hearing music supervisors speak on panels talking about how they were huge fans of artists that had been pitched to them. They hadn't had an opportunity to place their song, not because they didn't like the song. It just, like you said, creatively, it didn't fit in the spot. And that, I think, is like the hardest thing for artists to wrap their head around, is that if they don't get placed, it's not because their music is bad. It's because it doesn't fit specifically, exactly to the producer, to the director, to the showrunner's liking. Yeah. And it just doesn't fit in that one very, very, very specific scene. It might be the best song ever written. Right. But if it doesn't fit the scene, it's not going to get used. Yep. 100%.
Go for it.
Thanks. Yeah, no, 100%. Just because it popped back in my mind already. A very specific brief we got the other day, and I'll be succinct as possible. But basically, it was an overhead montage scene. Someone's in paradise on the beach. So first half of the song has to be joyous and celebratory. And then there's a switch. The person picks up the phone, they get bad news. So the music has to pivot into despair and dread and melancholy. So the big ask is, how many songs are going to start out happy and then sad, and the lyrics? Yeah. So that was a tough one. and then whether we have it, then being zen with the supers and say, hey, thanks, but we'll get you next time. I'm not going to waste their time and send them 10 tracks that don't fit. If I do, they're like, hey man, you don't know what you're doing. You're pitching crap we can't use. And I just wasted 20 minutes listening to 10 tracks. So that is another zen, the discipline and knowing, hey, thanks, but we'll get you next time.
Yeah. Chase, did you want to say something about it?
I was just going to say if there's one thing that independent artists particularly should know about sync, is that it's a numbers game. I've heard this directly from the senior vice president of the sync department at Sony said this. There's no way to guarantee any particular artist for any particular placement. It would be great if the supervisors that we pitch to were the ones making the final call on the scenes and anything they liked goes, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But basically when we send them our music, they then make folders of all the music that they get from all their different sources, and they pitch that to the showrunner or the director or the music director, whoever is there higher up on them.
Got it.
That particular production. So being that it's so bureaucratic, it's all about how many times are you getting your song in front of the supervisor, and are you sticking in that supervisor's mind? Are they falling, or cool. Like, do they want to come back and use your music?
Nice. That's great. And that's, that's super helpful. And I think puts things in perspective, because, as I wear two hats, frequently, I wear the artist hat, and then I can wear the manager hat or the business head hat or whatever. And like when I have my artist hat on, it's a very emotional hat, and I take things extremely personally. And then I have to switch hats and put that manager hat and be like, no, let's keep it in perspective. Like, it's not because you're worthless. It's not because your music sucks. It's because it doesn't necessarily work right now in this spot. And like, you gotta think about that. So, I guess, what is your biggest piece of advice? And I want to hear from both of you on this, for artists that want to be successful getting their songs synced. What's your biggest piece of advice for them? Charles, why don't you start us off?
Sounds good. So I mean, straight off the bat, I would say, do your homework. Whether that's if you're deciding that you want to work with a sync agent, let's say you do that route. So, hey, know who you're approaching, what kind of, if they approach Blue Buddha, all right, Blue Buddha is, who's our roster? What type of music do we vibe with? And then do your due diligence. Can you talk the talk and walk the walk? If I say, is it one-stop rep? Do you have co-write splits? I'm not sure. So that's a non-starter because, time's of the essence in these deals. And then the second route is, if they decide to go with their own with music supers, same thing, do your homework. But, I'm always going to advocate and say, hey, benefit of working with an agent, you're going to have a higher hit ratio of going through a seasoned vet versus, if you try it your own. But if, there are cases where artists will go into events and make relationships with supers, and, but it takes time. That's a perfect example. Lindsay's great. Her from back in the day. But now more than ever, they're bombarded, and it's so do your homework, due diligence on both sides.
Cool. Chase.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think, definitely for any artists out there looking to get syncs, definitely find a sync agent, because I think most supervisors are just too busy to be, if they even listen to your music in the first place, that's fortunate enough. And if they decide that it's good enough that they want to go through the trouble of making sure that it's clearable because it's from some random person that they don't know, that's, you have your odds get less and less and less, basically. But the other thing is, look up, artists that are making stuff, the artists that you take inspiration from. Who do you make music like, and what placements are they getting, and what what of their catalog is working for them. Go find a sync agent that works with that kind of stuff.
What would you recommend to artists who don't have that history with, I mean, yes, we all like to think that our music works perfectly on every show and on everything.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to people who don't have that history, didn't work with Extreme, but do believe that their music would work in sync? Where do they start? Where do they begin? And then how do they go about that? What's the process?
This is a process that I think if you take enough time to figure it out, you'll figure it out anyways. So I'm not really revealing anything that is, I'm just helping people get to the puzzle pieces. Go to IMDb Pro or IMDb. Look at the projects that you think your music works for. Let's say, for example, you look up the show and you find on IMDb Pro or IMDb that the music supervisor is this person. You find their contact. Then what you want to do is make sure that your presentation is tight, right?
What does that mean?
Your presentation means that your song, first of all, you need WAV files, right? There are host sites where you can basically upload all of your music, the lyrics, the contact information,
like
all that
disco?
stuff.
What do you use?
Like Disco. I use Disco a lot. And you want to also make sure that your metadata is tight inside of your actual file, right? So that's who do I contact for this? Who's writing on this? Every single writer on it. I need to know the master side and the publishing side of each writer for contact. So if you're assigned to a publishing deal, send me that person's email. And then if you own your master, send me your email. One writer. Writer 2 is independent 100%. I need his email. Writer 3 is on a label and published. I need, who do I clear for master at the label? I need, who do I clear for master at the publishing? Because if I love the song, I may only have an afternoon to clear this thing. And I need everybody's information right there for who I can reach. Otherwise it's a nightmare because I'm calling you and then you got to find him. And then
so don't make a pitch until you have all of that information squared away.
Have your stuff squared away, be on point with it. Not only will it probably help you get the sync, but it'll also put you in good favor with these people, man, because I've seen some of the stuff music supervisors get, man. It's a shit show, man. So yeah, I mean, just make things easier for yourself and for them. You're a business.
So what's the all right? So you pick a show that you think your music would fit well on because you watch the show and you're like, you know what, I make music similar to the music they use on the show.
Indeed.
And then you go into IMDb, you find the music supervisor, you find their contact email somewhere.
Right.
What is the subject line? Why would they open this email from somebody they don't know?
I have your mother locked in the basement. And then
that'll get open.
No, I mean, you don't want to say that, but I would say,
of course. Oh my God.
That's a very interesting question, right? Because that's the $1 million question. How do I get somebody who's on the phone with Kanye West and trying to find the rights for Smokey Robinson to open my email?
So your in was you've placed my music in the past.
Right.
I think you'd like some of this new stuff. Now, somebody else, what I've heard, now tell me what you think about this. This is what supervisors have told me in the past. If you put a subject line, sounds like Coldplay, or something like, if they're in need of a Coldplay song, a Coldplay replacement, or something like that, or like,
that's smart.
Then they're like, I'm going to open this because like I do need a Coldplay replacement. I need something that sounds like Coldplay or something like that.
Right.
Or maybe an idea is if you're watching that show, you could say sounds like an artist they placed last week on last episode, so they know that you've been doing your research and your homework. Or you can put that artist's name in the subject line, and that'll get them like, oh, well, I did just place this artist.
Absolutely.
Not a well-known artist. Why are they contacting me about this artist? I love this artist. I just placed her last week.
Yeah.
Then they open the email, and then you say, I love the show. You do such a great job with the music. Maybe open with a compliment.
Right.
Say you place this artist who I discovered through the show.
Yeah.
Thank you for turning me on to this artist. My song is actually very similar in line with this artist, and maybe that will get your email read and listened to and opened, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I think that those are, bro, you got to write my emails. I will pay you top dollar to write. I'm horrible at that. But no, these are all things that you can do. I think for me, what was unique about my situation was that, I had this like very small like window that I can kind of crack open a little bit.
Yep.
You know, reaching music supervisors is definitely one way to do it for sure, and you should, and also sync licensing companies, because they have the relationships with these people. They're already established with them. A lot of them are working on shows themselves, and they have music supervisors inside of their companies. So you know, that may even also be kind of like an easier avenue.
So have you worked? So you said you were doing this on your own independently for a few years, but
right?
Recently, you've joined with a sync licensing company.
Just recently, and I would say that if you don't have, because I very much so was just kind of like hustling the angle that I had, and I also didn't even know about sync licensing companies. Okay, so I just was doing this stuff independently, and I got so good at it that it was like, why am I giving anybody a percent? I already know these people that you're sending the music to. Yep. But I think that if I'm starting out and I just have music and I just want to start syncing, I would start with researching sync licensing companies in tandem with reaching out to music supervisors. But I think a sync licensing company is definitely your way to go for sure.
So you can contact sync licensing companies in tandem with contacting music supervisors, doing the reach out in that smart way, targeted, with full metadata, all that stuff.
Indeed. Because music supervisors, you know, they're working on projects. They're under the gun. A lot of them are not just sitting around waiting for people to get music. And I'm not saying sync licensing companies aren't grinding too, because they grind hard. Yep. But I think that they're just a little bit easier to walk up to and say, hey, let's listen to some stuff. Sure. You know what I mean?
So why did you decide, since you already had all these contacts, why did you decide to work with a sync licensing company and give up a percentage?
So I wanted to scale. I wanted to scale up. Okay. And I was already doing well independently, but I wanted to scale up. And I met some people who are just some of the most amazing people that I've ever met. And I was like, yeah, I like, if I'm doing this well by myself, if you believe in my music and you were representing my music, I know people, they just got to meet you. Sure. And people were just like you. If you were a sync license, I would give you some of my music, because I know if anybody met you and they just like sat across from you, they would listen to what you had to say. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I found these people with this talent who were already doing well with their own people, and we just had the synergy, and we decided to work together. And it allows me to focus more on music and to also be in all these other places at the same time. So it's been great, man. So I would start there if you're indie, because they have the groundwork to already set in place to just plug you in and to kind of get you started. You know?
Amazing. Today's episode was edited by Maxton Hunter, theme music by Brass Roots District, and produced by all the great people at Ari's Take.